Music is an important element in the things we watch, but in Euphoria, music is essential. For how polarizing the show itself has become, I think we can all agree that music is great, and along with the cinematography, makes the show feel distinct. I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of the constant onslaught of music when I started watching the show, but over time its controlled chaos started to interest me. Despite the lack of boundaries, I think it does a good job of musically striking a balance between traditional and non-traditional, old and new. It's no secret that Euphoria does whatever it wants, which provides the opportunity for show composer Labrinth and music supervisor Jen Malone to do whatever they want. I want to talk about what I've observed about the music in the first 2 seasons and highlight sequences that show how effective it can be. Of course, I really like the score, and Labrinth has a unique approach I want to dive into, but I want to start by talking about the licensed music. I think it sometimes gets a bad rap because there's so much of it, but there's a lot we can learn from this side of the music, both from a usage standpoint and a business standpoint. The primary job of a music supervisor is to clear copyright for songs the director wants to use and pick songs when needed. In Malone's case, she picks a lot of songs. Season 1's entire roster required copyright clearances from 350 separate parties. It's not lost on people how much legal work must be behind jamming so many songs into each episode. Now in the Season 2 premiere, there weren't exactly 45 songs, try 27, but that's still a lot, and they're coming from so many different genres and eras.
West side when we ride, come and put we get. I'm a fool to do your dirty work.
You get the picture. Unlike her other shows, Atlanta and Showtime's Yellow Jackets, Malone has the freedom to pick any song she wants. But because of the graphic nature of Euphoria's material, clearing them is not easy. She has to disclose scene details to the estates of the different artists, and sometimes what they hear makes them hesitant over granting permission. For instance, it took some convincing of the Elvis Presley estate to approve a cover of the song Don't Be Cruel for use in the opening scene of Season 2, because it includes nudity, drug use, gun violence, you name it. Regardless, most artists seem to be okay with it, and because of that there's a wide variety of songs in Euphoria. Curation is a big part of the job, but ultimately music supervisors want to pick songs that serve the story and tell us something about the characters and situations we're following. Let's talk about another one of the 27 songs in Season 2's premiere, Right Down the Line by Jerry Rafferty. When we hear it, a bald drug dealer guy has just finished telling everyone in the room to take their clothes off so he can check for wires in case they're working with the feds. The song and the guy dancing around present an irony to the tense situation. This song being here is no accident. You see, Jerry Rafferty was in a band called Steelers Wheel, and the band's most popular song, Stuck in the Middle with You, was used in a similar scene in Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs, as a man is begging for his life in the face of almost certain death. The show knew exactly what it was doing here. But this is not the only time it's used. Rue, the main character of the show, is directly threatened by the scary bald guy while the song plays, and is eventually forced to lift her shirt up. This situation would probably be enough for most people to associate the song with trauma, but in the very next episode, she's dancing to it like the incident never happened. Rue's main conflict is her drug addiction, and the 2 uses of the song show how desensitized and careless Rue is when she's had her fix. I thought it was an interesting way of showing that, and how you can change how the song feels when you take it out of one context into another. I also found music choices in the last 2 episodes of Season 2 especially interesting. Lexi's big-budget play provides the opportunity for the characters to see events they experienced reenacted in front of them, and to create a sense of scale, various old film scores are used. Personally, I found these choices really effective. It made what I was watching feel just as important to me as it felt to the characters watching them. The criticism leveled at the licensed music normally points to its overuse and its datedness, both valid points. It's very unlikely a high schooler would listen to Sinead O'Connor in a time of grief, or any time. I agree to an extent, but I think the show understands that if in a party scene, for example, you only heard trap and pop music, your ears would get bored. Rather than critically thinking about the music, you'll just ignore it. You'd also be missing out on songs that might better fit what a scene is trying to do. Not every song is going to work, but at least you don't know what's coming next. But a discussion of the music is nowhere near complete, obviously, without talking about Labrinth. Labrinth, a recording artist, learned composing on the fly and combined the conventions of a film score with his sensibilities as a producer. The most unique thing about his approach is he starts mapping out the music with his voice and works outward from there. Originally, he wasn't planning for his vocals to be used so much until creator Sam Levinson told him not only would they be used, they'd be featured. Labrinth's vocal-based approach to the score creates an unseen character. It's also convenient because it's his voice, and he doesn't have a lot of time to make music given the constraints of production. Depending on the character or moment, the voice takes on a different tone. For instance, Nate's theme uses aggressive chants. They're then chopped up and pitched down to express his inner turmoil. Jules' music, on the other hand, uses falsetto vocals and other high-pitched sounds to make her sound magical. But sometimes the vocal moments aren't thematic, they're just fun. In general, he uses as many non-orchestral sounds as he can, like the other part of Nate's theme, which is a distinctive clapping pattern, also musically linking him and his dad, Cal. But there's still plenty of room for a traditional score.
You wanna ride the carousel?
Euphoria Funfair, the extended score piece in Season 1, Episode 4's Carnival sequence, proves how essential his music is to the show. The instrumentation is as chaotic as the state fair. The music is doing a lot of work here. Not only does it make the sequence feel connected, it makes individual scenes more interesting to watch. One thing I like to do when I put a movie or show in my editor is to watch scenes without their music.
This is the feeling I've been searching for my entire life.
And then without their dialogue. When I did this with the Carnival sequence, I was amazed at how much it opened up when I added the music back. Take the establishing shot after the score is introduced. Watch without music. Now with music. Or Cal trying to explain the virtues of football.
It's not just football. It's life. It's about maintaining your focus. It's about putting your all into everything you do.
Without music, this is just a dad uttering platitudes about why playing sports is important. But with the dissonant horns and celesta, combined with what we know about Cal's extracurricular activities, his words feel hypocritical, especially since they're part of a scolding of McKay's early struggles in college football.
It's not just football. It's life. It's about maintaining your focus. It's about putting your all into everything you do.
After watching the entire sequence this way, I realized how important the music is to making it feel frantic. The camera work is so smooth you almost forget how you're supposed to feel somewhat uneasy about what's happening. That's a key element of film music, smoothing over the discontinuities of editing and establishing mood in the process. Music is also a staple of the cold open scenes. Going back to McKay, the demanding excellence cue from Season 1, Episode 6 might be my favorite and most exercise-friendly piece in the show. It does a great job connecting you to his football playing journey and makes it feel meaningful considering the lack of screen time the character gets. There's also times where music is synced to something special going on visually, like the flashing light scene in Season 2, Episode 1, where we get an echoey organ over these quick snapshots of characters at a party. But the centerpiece of the music is Rue's soundtrack. As we covered earlier, Rue's addiction is the focal point of the show, and because of that, she has a song for each season that lets us in on her mental state. In Season 1, that song is All For Us, which we hear over a gigantic hallucinated set piece. Although this is the first time we hear it in full, the show prepares us for it multiple times throughout the season, starting with this flashback sequence in the second episode, the first time she takes drugs. In various situations, she finds herself tempted by pill bottles, and without fail, this cue follows her. Temptation is the key word here, because when someone forces her to take something, it doesn't play. To me, the gospel-like vocals represent how her addiction is trying to deceive her into thinking of drug addiction as a perverse spiritual experience. That religious imagery is present in many of Rue's most important scenes, including one near the end of the 4th episode of Season 2 that introduces I'm Tired. her second song. It introduces Labrinth himself as the physical embodiment of the voices in her head. She's about to hit rock bottom, and this song shows and tells us how exhausted her addiction has made her. It even reappears in score form in the next episode when someone is trying to talk to her, but she, once again in a bad place, doesn't want to listen. By the end of the season, Rue's made progress and feels content, and instead of a huge set piece, the last scene is her walking away from camera alone, and a performance from Zendaya of the same song with a stripped-down arrangement.
Hey Lord, you know I'm trying.
Euphoria tests the limits of how much music you can fit into an hour of television. It's scattered at times, but its approach mostly succeeds because of how it represents how scattered the high school brain is. It's undeniable that the music in the show is a character, maybe the most important one.